There's a map layer that most prospectors never check, not because it's hidden, but because it doesn't look important. And yet, it quietly shows where gemstones are most likely to form. So the question is, if the information exists, why is it being ignored? In this video, you're going to see exactly what that layer is, how it works, and why it reveals something most people completely miss. Because once you understand it, you stop searching randomly and start reading the ground like a system. At first glance, the land looks uniform. Rock, soil, fragments. Nothing appears structured. Nothing suggests value. But is that actually true? Or does it only look random because the pattern isn't obvious? Across the United States, from the deserts of Nevada to the river systems of California to the mineral belts of Colorado, valuable deposits don't appear everywhere. So what controls where they appear? Is it luck? Or is there a system most people never learn to see? Because if gemstones were random, prospecting wouldn't work at all. But it does, which means something is controlling distribution. Most people begin with the wrong question. They ask, where can I find gemstones? But that question assumes something incorrect. It assumes gemstones are targets, rather than outcomes. So what if the real question is different? What conditions allow gemstones to form in the first place? Because if those conditions never existed, then no amount of searching will produce results. Gemstones don't form in isolation. They form inside systems. Systems defined by heat, pressure, fluid movement, chemical concentration. But here's the problem. You can't see those systems directly. So how do you identify them? Do you rely on visible rocks, surface clues, or is there a deeper layer that reveals everything? This is where things change, because there is a map layer that most prospectors either ignore or never fully understand. Geologic maps, not satellite images, not terrain maps, but the underlying geological structure of the land. Look at regions like Nevada and California. Why do these areas consistently produce opal, agate, jasper, quartz? Is it coincidence? Or is it tied to volcanic history? Because these regions experienced extensive volcanic activity, which means heat existed, fluids moved, cavities formed, and over time, minerals filled those spaces. So when you see volcanic rock on a map, what are you actually seeing? A past system that may still hold results. These are the exact conditions needed for garnet, tourmaline, beryl. They look at rocks individually, but geology works in systems. So if this map layer is so powerful, why is it ignored? Because it doesn't show immediate results. It requires interpretation, understanding, pattern recognition. And most people don't want to analyze systems. They want direct answers. But geology doesn't work that way. It rewards those who understand process, not just outcomes. At this point, you're no longer asking, where are gemstones? You're asking something different. Where did the conditions exist for gemstones to form? And that question changes everything, because now you're not guessing. You're narrowing down possibilities, eliminating unproductive ground, and focusing only on areas where systems existed. The exact map layer prospectors ignore is not showing you gemstones. It's showing you the system that creates them. And once you understand that system, you stop searching blindly. You start selecting locations based on evidence, not luck. And here's the part most people never realize. Even inside the correct system, not all areas produce results equally. Some zones remain empty. Others concentrate value. So the real advantage is not just finding the system, it's understanding where inside that system value accumulates. So now the question becomes, if the map shows the system, how do you identify the exact zones where gemstones actually concentrate? Because that's where the difference is made. Not in finding the right map, but in reading it correctly. At this point, you've identified something critical. The system exists. But here's the problem. Just because a system exists doesn't mean every part of it produces results. So the question becomes, where inside the system does value actually concentrate? Because this is where most prospectors lose efficiency. They find the correct environment, but still search randomly inside it. Which brings you back to the same problem: effort without precision. Minerals don't spread evenly. They concentrate. So what controls that concentration? Changes in pressure, temperature, fluid speed, chemical saturation. When any of these shift, deposition begins. So now the question becomes, where do these changes happen most often? Because that's where gemstones begin to form. Look at where two rock types meet. This is called a contact zone. Why would that matter? Because different rocks react differently to heat and fluids. So when an intrusion meets surrounding rock, a boundary forms, and that boundary becomes chemically active. This is where minerals start to deposit. So if a geologic map shows an intrusion touching sedimentary or metamorphic rock, what does that suggest? A potential concentration zone. Not random, not guaranteed, but highly relevant. In regions like Colorado and Montana, intrusions interacting with surrounding rock have created garnet zones, tourmaline occurrences, beryl-bearing systems. Not because those areas are lucky, but because the conditions aligned. So if you see that same pattern elsewhere on a map, what does that tell you? The system can repeat. Now go deeper. A single fault line allows fluid movement. But what happens when two faults intersect? Flow changes, pressure shifts, velocity decreases, and when fluid slows down, what happens? Minerals drop out of solution. This creates concentration. So now ask yourself, if you had to choose between one fault or an intersection of faults, which one has higher probability? Now shift to surface processes. Even if gemstones form underground, how do they reach the surface? Weathering, erosion, transport. And this is where rivers become critical. But not just any river. The question is, what kind of river movement allows heavy minerals to settle? Because gemstones are not light. They don't stay suspended easily. So where do they accumulate? Inside bends, behind large rocks, at drops in slope. So if a river flows through a known system, what does that suggest? It may be concentrating material downstream. In parts of California and Oregon, rivers flowing through mineralized zones have produced agates, jasper, gold quartz. Crystals not because the river creates them, but because it collects and sorts them. So now the question becomes, are you searching where gemstones form, or where they accumulate? Because those are not always the same place. Now this is where precision increases. Certain minerals appear before gemstones. They act as indicators. For example, iron staining implies oxidation and chemical activity. Heavy black sands implies density-based concentration. So what happens if you see all three together? Is that random? Or is it evidence of a working system? Because one signal can mislead, but multiple signals start to confirm. Now consider another factor, exposure. Some systems exist, but remain buried. Others are exposed at the surface. So what controls that? Erosion, time, uplift. In regions where erosion has removed upper layers, deeper systems become visible. This is why desert environments often reveal more than forested regions, not because they contain more gemstones, but because they expose them. At this point, everything becomes clear. The system exists. The map shows it. The concentration zones are defined. So why do most people still fail? Because they look for results. Before understanding process, they search for gemstones directly, instead of asking, where should gemstones logically exist? And that difference is everything. The map layer doesn't give you gemstones. It gives you probability. And when you combine geologic structure, fault systems, intrusions, contact zones, river transport, indicator minerals, you are no longer guessing. You are narrowing the search to the only places that make sense. And here's what separates experienced prospectors from everyone else. They don't search more. They search less, but in the right places. Because once the system is confirmed, effort becomes efficient.